It was a big Eastern Conference showdown today between the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. These teams have played quite a few times this year. The outcome really has been pretty consistent. I'm going to tell you guys why this is something you can expect the rest of the way this year and pretty much for the foreseeable future. The Celtics are just that much better than the Knicks. The degree of separation is pretty large. In fact, the top of the East, the Knicks just don't really compete. But let's take a look at the game individually as it was from today, February 23rd, 2025. The Celtics beat the New York Knicks 118-105. They came out guns a-blazing, leading in the first quarter 38-19. And then the second quarter, the Knicks weren't really able to close the gap either. Things in the third quarter kind of turned around for the Knicks, storming back to try to cut into the lead. The Celtics gave up 39 points to the Knicks. And that actually, I think the Knicks got within maybe 6 points of the Celtics. So, they were actually in the game crazy to see how much they were able to fight back. But yeah, the Celtics, they've been able to give up leads and stuff like that this year. We've seen it. So it's not crazy or anything, but not enough. The Celtics were able to hold them off in the fourth. The Knicks were held to 23 points in the fourth quarter. So for field goal percentage, the Celtics shot almost 50%. The Knicks 43, 44%. The Celtics shot 38% from the three. Same thing with the Knicks. 100% from the line for both teams. 49 total rebounds for the Celtics, 40 for the Knicks. So we got a pretty sizable rebound discrepancy there. +5 on the offensive rebound side for the Celtics. And then when it comes to the assists, the Celtics did move the ball pretty well in the first half. I'd say things got kind of stagnant in the second half, and that's why you saw the lead kind of dissipate. And then in the fourth quarter, they started passing the ball a little bit again, and they were able to kind of build on their lead. Other than that, the turnover differential, one turnover better for the Celtics, so they had 10. The Knicks had 11. Points in the paint advantage went to the Celtics as well. They were +2 on that side. So there's nothing egregious from a statistical standpoint in terms of the box score. But with respect to the Knicks, they just don't have much after their starters, right? You got 14 from Bridges. OG Anunoby gave you 10, right? That's decent, right? Karl Anthony Towns gives you 24. He seemed to get hobbled at some point during the game. Jalen Brunson, not particularly efficient, but he did score 22 points. Josh Hart back in the lineup, 20 points in 40 minutes. That dude's a workhorse. It really is impressive to see how good of a rebounder he is at his position. He finished the game not only with the 20 points, but 11 rebounds, 9 assists. And there's something I want to say about Josh Hart. He missed the Cavs game, and the Knicks got blown out by 30, 40 points in that game. And I don't think the outcome of the game would have changed all that much if he played, because basically the Celtics were blowing out the Knicks for much of the game, and Josh Hart was active and engaged in the game and making a difference. There's just not enough in New York outside of Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson offensively. They don't really have a system. And then you look at the bench. They very, very shallow bench. They got 7 from Campaign in 10 minutes. They got 2 of McBride in 27 minutes. 2 points in 27 minutes. And then Landry Shamet got you 6 points in 5 minutes. Very limited run. And Precious Achua got 0 points in 15 minutes. He was a much bigger difference maker against the Cavs, but they still got blown out by 30 plus points. I'm not really sure what people need to understand. What do they need to see to really grasp that there's tiers in the East, and the Knicks just don't belong in the top tier. And I don't care, people say wait until the playoffs and this, that, and the third. It does not matter. There's no version where they just turn on a switch and all of a sudden they'll start scoring off the bench, or all of a sudden they're going to start moving the ball around and not just relying on ISO ball from Cat or Jalen Brunson. The lack of dynamics on their offense limits their upside. And then defensively, with the exception of a couple of players, defensively they're very porous. There's multiple positions on the court at any given moment where their defense just isn't good. Which is crazy to say, but teams can light these guys up. It's pretty bad. I mean, look at what the Celtics were able to do with almost nothing off the bench. 25 from Tatum, 15 from Porzingis, 14 from Holiday, 19 from Derek White, Jaylen Brown 24, and none of these guys played particularly well. Jason Tatum was 8 of 20 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. If I would have told you that, this is what he did for the Celtics, you'd say, oh, the team they played against maybe had a chance. But I don't think so. Or if I would have told you Porzingis was only going to get 15 on 6 of 15 shooting, 2 of 9 from 3, you would have said, oh, the Knicks would have had a chance. Quite the contrary. They were never really in the game. They made it kind of competitive in the third, but that was off a huge run. I mean, they weren't even close. Horford, very little. Sam Hauser, very little. Peyton Pritchard, very little. He's usually a much better player. And the Knicks still couldn't win. Seriously, the Celtics didn't even play that great, honestly. So there's levels in the East. And the Knicks are clearly a second tier. They are not tier 1. It is the Celtics. It is the Cavs. And the only reason I give the Celtics so much respect is because they just won the finals. And actually, when I watch them play night in and night out, they're very inconsistent. And I'm not really sure how good they are. Sometimes I'm not really sure about their identity. Are they the same team that they were last year? It sure doesn't seem that way. I do see some glaring weaknesses. I do see them letting teams off the hook sometimes. I've seen some egregious losses that they shouldn't have had. But the Knicks can't even compete with the Celtics. I think it's pretty clear that the Knicks are who we think they are. There is no switch. They're not just going to wake up one morning and all of a sudden the Knicks are competitors or contenders. That's just not realistic. That's not real life. That's delusion. And I think some people, the fandom or the fanatic in them holding on to this romanticism with the Knicks, they're just a second tier team. They're there with the Bucks, they're there with the next tier. They're not keeping up like the Cavs, the Celtics. They're sweeping them. It's a 5-game series, however you want to look at it. There's blowouts in that type of series. Seriously. Teams that move the ball destroy the Knicks. We saw that today with the Celtics. When they moved the ball, they were destroying the Knicks. When it became ISO ball, they got back into it. But the Knicks can't compete with the better teams, unfortunately. They don't have the roster for it. They don't have the team philosophy. They don't move the ball. They're not dangerous. They lack dynamism. They're just a second-tier team.